This is my early game build order and breakdown for the Tempest Dynasty. You need to activate the logistics plan in the bottom left corner here immediately to make your first war factory build 5 seconds faster. It's like very imperative that you do this. And then when you place the first machine shop, you need to deactivate that plan because these plans take up 100 power consumption, okay? So we're going to start that, and we're going to deactivate it, and then we're going to start a barracks first, and then a power plant. And we're going to make one Tempest rig, okay? Don't queue up too many Tempest rigs yet. When our barracks finishes, we're going to be making a single pillager. So I'm going to make my barracks. And remember to try and, like, place your buildings a little bit away from your command center, because you can see here that we have the build radius around our buildings. And what we need to do is make sure that our build radius expands, okay? So we're not making a second power plant. We're going to drop our first Tempest rig, and then we're going to reactivate the logistics plan, and we should be right at 190 consumption, which means that our Tempest rig should be gathering 50% or 20% faster. This first Tempest rig should start gathering 20% faster. And we need to make 3 Dynasty Guards and then 2 Technicians, okay? So our first Flame Tank is going to come out, and we're going to queue up 10 Tempest rigs. Our first Flame Tank is going to go across the map, and then our infantry units are going to go to the Tempest Spikes, right? This is 4-player map, so it's tremendous, but these are the Tempest Processing Centers, and on the 2-player maps, there's almost always 2 Tempest Processing Centers that are nearby you. And you can use the Pillager to go steal your enemy's Tempest Processing Centers, or you can use the first Tempest Process. You can use the Flame Tank to go straight to their base and try and target down their power plants, okay? So we have our next Tempest rig comes out, right? And right now, because we're in low power, it increases the build time of our units. So what you're going to do is after your first engineer, you're going to depower the barracks, okay? Because if you're in low power, it's going to take you 20 extra seconds to build your first Tempest rig, okay? And that is just absolutely unacceptable. So after those engineers start up, or after that first engineer finishes, we're going to depower this, right? Or you can even depower it before the first engineer, to be honest. Just so that you don't take that hit on the production speed of the Tempest rig, okay? It's, like, very important. And now we have 3 Tempest rigs, right? And we have 2 mining on this one, and we're going to send this Tempest rig to the same thing. Now we have 3 Tempest rigs here, and we're going to start our second machine shop, okay? And we're capturing 1, 2 of these spikes. And now that our barracks is finished doing that, we're going to spam out like 20 missile troopers, okay? And what you really need to do is start ordnance manufacturing, okay? Ordnance manufacturing is a doctrine that increases the area of effect of your explosives by 50%. And let me tell you right now, your rocket troopers do area of effect damage, okay? It's crazy, but they do area of effect damage on your tier 1 infantry, and then your Havocs as well. I like to either make a couple of Havocs or a couple of Pillagers. You can kind of, like, make a decision based on, like, what you want to do tactically. You can see my Pillagers over here attacking his worker. What you want to do with the Pillager is target the power plants, okay? So we have our first Doctrine, and we're going to get extended life generators now. And we really need a 3rd power plant, because we can't guarantee that we're going to get a second Tempest Processing Center. These work like power plants, okay? They give you 100 power, so they act like a power plant. But if you can't get a second power or a second Tempest Processing rig, you need to make another power plant, right? So now we have 3 power plants, and we have our 2 factories producing. And what we're going to do is we're going to start the radar station, okay? And remember, you can, like, queue up a bunch more rockets. Okay, cool. I'm going to kill my own fucking Havoc for no reason. Awesome. And now we have our radar dish, and we can place it there. And what it'll do is unlock your mini-map, which is really nice. And the more important part of the radar dish is that it unlocks your bastion on your command center, right? So it's like 5 minutes into the game. You can get this around 4:30. I think you can get this around 4:30. But you start the bastion upgrade on your main command center, and it enables your tier 2 units, right? And what we desperately want as Dynasty is the ability to build bore tanks, okay? So I'm making these Havocs because there are only anti-vehicle and anti-infantry thing in the early game. Fast scout buggy that fires missiles at the ground. They can target air units and ground units, and what they do is they do splash damage, right? You see, they don't do a lot of damage to the missile trooper, but if that was an enemy unit, all 5 of those units would have taken that damage from the buggy, okay? And the Doctrine here that increases the effectiveness of your ordnance by 50%, that applies to your buggies, okay? So our bastion is finished now, and what we can do is we can queue up a bunch of bore tanks, all right? And if you place your factories correctly on your power plant, you can use your power plant to boost both of your factories at the same time, okay? And as our Tempest rigs finish, we're just sending them out of the map. You're going to try and get 3 per resource field. And you want to get to like 12 total. I think 12 is a pretty solid number total, because they do take up supply, right? They take up 3 population. So if you get 12 of them, you're taking up 33 of your population to make workers, right? That's like your worker production. So if you make too many, it can be a bad thing, right? And then something we can do here as the game gets later is we can grab our buggies, and if you've kept them alive, you can put them in a second control group, and you can shift to the... Okay, my flame tank's still in his base. Awesome. You can send your buggies around the edge of the map, right? Because now I'm making bore tanks, and we feel pretty solid about our bore tanks. And we're going to set a second generator here next to our 2 barracks. And our new barracks that we made, we're going to upgrade it into an infirmary. When you get the tier 2 on your construction yard, it unlocks the ability to create defender upgrades on your machine shop and infirmary upgrades on your barracks. And what those do is unlock your tier 2 units, okay? So we're making bore tanks, right? And we're going to just queue up infinity bore tanks because we're never going to stop producing them ever, okay? And after you get your second racks and you have your power plants ready to go, you're going to start the Specialist Bureau, okay? The Specialist Bureau unlocks your specialist units. And now that we have the infirmary, what I like to do is just spam assault gunners nonstop, right? You can spam assault gunners nonstop because they're really good against enemy infantry. But if you're against a heavy vehicle player, you can make the demolitionists instead. It's kind of like a decision-making point. Now we've finished. We have 11 rigs. 11 to 12 rigs is a lot. What you can do now is start making whatever you feel like is an appropriate unit out of the second machine shop, right? Or you can upgrade it to a defender so that you can get voltaic tanks or tempest spheres. But most of the time, I like to just make porcupines, right? Now that I have a couple of bore tanks, right, I'm gonna just make porcupines because porcupines are really strong and they scale very well with this 3rd tier doctrine in the middle tree, where you get 50% more ammo and 15% more damage on your ammo-based units. And the porcupines are an ammo-based unit, so they're really strong. And you can see my money is like permanently high right now. I literally just can't spend it. And I have non-stop units building. I like to make the operatives and the line officer, so 2 operatives and a line officer. The operatives are like these incredibly powerful anti-vehicle snipers, and the line officer has a area of effect inspiration ability for your units. So this is like as far as I want to go with this, because I'm versus the AI, and you would have had to interact with your opponent by this point. But this is like how I like to play GDF, and these are the units I like to make. I really like the Assault Gunner a lot. The Assault Gunner is super cool, and he's a very strong all-rounder unit, right? He's really good against anti-infantry and air units. So that's the unit I like to spam the most. And then the Porcupine is like our anti-vehicle unit. And as soon as you unlock this tier 3 stockpile research, they become like really, really strong. Like, I think they're like borderline broken as fuck when you get this stockpile ability, because I'll just demonstrate, right? Like, I have this one Porcupine, and I can tell it to attack my boar tank, and you can see how much damage it takes before it's out of ammo, right? Like, so it almost killed the boar tank with a volley, right? When you have the stockpile doctrine, it will overkill a boar tank. And a boar tank is drastically more tanky than anything that GDF can make. It has more hit points than anything that GDF can make, I'm pretty sure. So you get this stockpile ability, and then your Porcupines will absolutely annihilate everything. And you can see here, they're good against infantry too, because they do splash damage, right? And you have the ordnance manufacturing doctrine, so their splash damage radius is 50% larger. So, like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. If you have any questions or comments, let me know.